Hello everyone. Today we're going to go through my first impression of New World. I played the first closed beta they had, and I played the closed beta that's just recently come out. And I really do like the changes I've experienced so far. I'm quite keen to see what they bring further. Please bear in mind that this is still closed beta, so there are some things that may change. So during my time with the game, I spent a lot of time with the two-handed weapons. So the spear, the two-handed axe, I believe it was called the war axe, great axe, there we go, and the war hammer. Got those confused. If I remember correctly, in the first closed beta, the warhammer actually had talents that were specifically designed around doing extra damage to buildings, which for the PvP aspects, I think that would be great. I didn't really take a look, so I'm not too sure if it's still in. But all in all, the three two-handed weapons are quite enjoyable. With the Warhammer, it did feel like there should be a third attack because of the attack patterns, which we'll see a bit later. Like, the second attack just stops on an upward strike. I just feel like probably should finish with a downward strike again. But also, it does deal a lot of damage. It's a very heavy hitting attack. So if that's not how it's supposed to be, pretty understandable, to be honest. Outside of that, the combat itself, as you can see, involves a lot of you want to dodge it stuff or block. I'm terrible at blocking, so I just spent more time trying to dodge, which I was significantly better at. And also combining the abilities, I found that the abilities do weave quite nicely in between combo attacks, which is very nice. My stamina management, as you can see, is absolutely horrible. I ran out of stamina more than I'd like to admit, and pulled more mobs than I should, as you can see. Like, I didn't really do much with the dexterity and the ranged weapons, so the spear was pretty much my only form of ranged attack. And the nice thing I like is, even though I'm below the level requirements, I could still take on mobs that were a higher level. I just had to be a bit more careful about it. So with the spear, the abilities I played with the most was the javelin, which is when you see me throw it, and then the sweep. So it produced a lot of CC, which I rather like. The Warhammer felt more like it was designed to just push out as much damage as it can. I mean, it's a hammer. You run in, you beat things, honestly. There's no other way to really describe the feel of the Warhammer except like that. I did also play around with the Great Axe, which again, all the two-handed weapons seem to only have 2 attacks, combination-wise. Which are, considering they're designed to really deal a lot of damage, doesn't surprise me too much. The one thing I did notice also is that they definitely cleaned up the combat a bit from the first one. First one, the combat felt fairly clunky, whereas now it felt a lot smoother. The dodging felt smoother. Your animations didn't feel so delayed. As you can see, that's what I'm talking about, the hammer there. Like, just strike down, strike up, and that's the end of the combo. But the heavy attacks, those felt really nice. But as you can see, I was actually trying to block there, and my blocking was horrible. The amount of times I nearly died because I just didn't block. There's honestly more times I'd like to admit. One of the aspects that I really did enjoy was the fact that there's no classes per se. I mean, you have your roles where the life staff is generally someone who does healing, I'm not too sure what the tank would be. Maybe a great axe user or your sword and shield user. I know the great axe, if you augments one of the abilities, taunts. So it's possible the great axe could also be a tank. But the last thing is you can easily swap between the weapons, reset your skills, which I believe on release will cost to reset your skill points. It's nice that you have that ability that, depending on how you set up your stats, whether you're going for a strength build, which is your sword and shield, your warhammer, your great axe, and it also affects the javelin, although dexterity affects the javelin more. And then dexterity, which affects your rapier, your spear, your musket, your bow. And then what I also found quite nice with intelligence, apart from affecting the fire staff and the ice gauntlet, it also affects the musket. Again, I didn't really play around with it much, so I'm not too sure to what degree it affects the musket. And then focus being the only one that affects the life staff. So if you wanted to be a healer, it seems that you would do more focus, and focus doesn't seem to affect anything else. And then there's constitution, which just gives you health. It doesn't really do much else apart from give you health. And then one thing I was curious about in regards to the stats, it seemed like even with 60 levels and you can put 2 points into a stat, that's 120 stat points. But also again, I haven't gone to max level yet, so there might be you might get more skill points with higher levels. But also your gear can augment your stats. So if you were going more for a strength build, you would ideally want gear that increased your strength. Or if you're going for more tank, you'd want more constitution, those sort of things. Which again is a very nice touch, that there's no fixed way of this is how you must play because you are this class. You can decide you're tired of running around healing people and you want to blow people up. You would have to then swap out your stats to go more intelligence based. And even between the weapons also felt really comfortable. It didn't feel too clunky. Obviously you can't swap between the weapons in the middle of an attack animation. So having the understanding of your animations, I personally think is probably something you really want to try and do. Mob variety, I didn't get to really see many of the mob varieties. Pretty much, I've only gone up to I think level 15. I'm not that far in. I spent a lot of time just spamming the faction quests, and also eventually found my greatest joy in any game, no matter what the game is. If the game has this one feature, I am guaranteed to spend most of my time on that, and that is fishing. My word, do I love me some fishing. And once I discovered the fishing of this game, I almost spent the rest of my stream fishing, because it is just great. I love fishing, honestly. I personally love fishing. The fishing also had a very, very interesting mechanic with it, but we'll get to the fishing later. For the most part, there was a lot of mechanics that I'm still unsure how I feel with. Such as if you want to get rid of your excess items, you got a whole bunch of spare stones that you mined up. There's no vendor that I have found that you can just give your stones to get rid of it. So it definitely seems that there's a very heavy emphasis on player markets. So if you want to sell that stone, you put it up on the market board and someone buys your stone. or your iron, whatever it is you get. On the plus side though, with weapons, if you craft yourself a higher tier weapon, then you can just salvage your old weapon, get some repair tools, and maybe even some items. There were some minor glitches I encountered. As you saw earlier, there was that blue stuff that you see. That's for the collect samples, and for a while the collect samples weren't appearing for me. So I was literally running around trying to find where these collect samples were for the one quest. And eventually I found them, after a lot of running and hitting and nearly dying multiple times. And that was, again, like there you see, that was the smoothness of like swapping the weapons. I just threw the spear and then easily enough pulled out my warhammer and just laid the smack down, which honestly was quite enjoyable. I spent a lot of time with the spear though. I do like my little pokey stick. I think though when the game's in full release, I'll probably spend a lot of time with the warhammer and the great axe. Those two weapons I quite enjoyed a lot. Seem to have a wide damage cone, so it's very good AoE. Although I also might look at investing some time into the ranged weapons. Probably a musket, I think, but there's also a chance I might try the bow. One of the features I think that were great is the camp. So as you explore and you run far from town, if you die, you got to go all the way back to town. But if you set up a camp nearby, then you can respawn at your little camp. And the camp also lets you cook some food. So if you don't have all the time to go all the way back to the main city to craft higher quality foods, but you still want some food for some of the buffs, you can just set your camp down and craft the food. As you level up, you'll get higher tier camp, which allows you to cook higher tier foods. And then there was these few moments when I was running around where there were just dead trees, but these dead trees were invisible, my dude. I didn't see them. They were there. They were not letting me pass, but I had no idea where they were. Also with the animations, they're weird. Fun. They're really nice, fun little animation. They can also be a little weird sometimes. There was a lot of times where it looked like a mob was attacking one way, but then it still hit me. But that also may have been because I'm playing on NA and I'm from the EU. Which I did more out of curiosity to see if there was a massive difference from me playing on EU. Oh, sorry, me playing from the EU on NA servers. Honestly, it's not really. But that's because, from what I understand, it's all server side. So the server registers what you're doing and sends it to everyone else. Which is nice, because then if something glitches, it doesn't just glitch for you, it glitches for everyone. Whereas most MMOs is the client side sends the information to the server, and then the server goes, okay, cool, that's what you did. Now it's the server confirming what you did and sends it out to everyone else. So it's all very much it's not client side, it's all server side. Which I think will be it'll keep everyone on a level playing field. But then that also comes in with the input delay. So what you input and the delay from your inputs and the server register to everyone else. Or more accurately, server registering what you did to everyone else. Because, as I said, it's server side. You can see there's someone using the rapier. Again, the attack animation is very smooth. It's definitely a massive improvement from last year's closed beta. The crafting system I also found quite interesting, because now My biggest gripe with it is that you can only do it in a main city, in a town, with the crafting stations. Which means you will probably end up focusing around one area that you like. Maybe a town that you like, or if your guild has claim over a town, you'll probably spend more time around that town. So then you have to go back to the town if you want to craft a new weapon, if you want to cook high quality foods, craft some gear, whatever that is, you have to do it in the main town. You can craft the bare basic resources from your camp. So I've only used the tier 1 camp, so I could craft flint, arrows, and I think bullets. So it wasn't a heck of a lot. It really wasn't. And here's one of the factions that you go with. And as you level up the faction, once you get enough faction points, you get to do a rank up mission. And in this area, this is where all of the crafting tables, I guess you'll call crafting tables, for the various stuff. There was a smeltery, woodworking station, a loom, leatherworking. There's even an apothecary type station, which I didn't really do much with. And then this was the one thing I did like. As you rank up in territories, you get little bonuses, because the controlling guild of a town can set the taxes for housing, crafting, market board, and it's a fairly hefty tax. Like they can set it to some very high amounts. As you can see, I focus more on strength and constitution, mainly because I'm bad at blocking and my dodging needs to work, so I wanted to at least be able to take a few hits. And here you got the blacksmith, where you can make your weapons. Nice thing I did like is on the map, it was very easy to see where you had quests that you could pick up. I didn't see anything that dictated or was very evidence of what is side missions and what is main missions. So I'm still not too sure how to determine that. It would be nice if there was a more clear-cut way of saying, okay, this is just side missions and these are main missions. But then again, I don't know how much of the stuff is main mission. I'd say with quotation marks, because it seems very open-ended. And as you level up, I mean, there were some points where I realized what is the main mission, because there's generally that one in your main story, in your quest log, it says main story. But outside of that, the visual quest markers, I couldn't tell. I genuinely couldn't tell what the main mission was. And it also seemed like there was a limit of how many missions you could have pinned at one time, and it seemed that any missions popped up if you were in the local area. So if I ran past an area that was a mission, but the mission wasn't pinned, it didn't pop up for me, which is kind of annoying. But if I'm walking near an area that's not a pinned mission, it'd be nice if that mission would appear in my quest log at the top, or give me some visual representation that's, okay, there is a quest here, go do the quest. But now we're going to talk about one of my all-time favorite things to do in any game: fishing. The fishing, honestly, was probably the most interactive of all the crafting gathering systems in the game. Instead of just a click and you catch a fish, you actually get to determine how far you throw in your baits, and then you wait for a marker. I clearly brag about how much I enjoy fishing and then screw up my first catch. But you get a marker that lets you know how far you're fishing in to hook your fish, and then as you pull it in, you see that green line moving. That's the tension on the line. If it goes all the way to the red, it's going to snap and you're going to lose the fish. So you got to just play around with the fish to reel it in and catch it. And then it's nice that you can level up all your crafting, gathering independently, and that all the fish, so far from the fish I've caught, they have different models, which was quite nice. Again, this is beta, so they might add more models. They might change how a few things work and feel and function. But all in all, I enjoyed the game. It was great, and I look forward to the full release of the game. End of August, I am so excited, and I will be streaming it. So I'm just really keen to play this game again. Like, it's in closed beta, and I don't want to invest too much time in it because I'm going to reset. But I'm so excited for this game, and I hope you guys are. So I'd be interested in your guys' thoughts on the game, your guys' experiences, and what you think. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see everyone soon. Bye bye.